Hello students, I'm Shweta from IMS Learning and I welcome you all to the another interesting session of Management Masterclass on Career in Finance. Today with us we have Professor Dr. Nikhil Rastogi from IMT Hyderabad, and along with him we have a current year students of IMT Hyderabad, Ms. Parul Singh, to host this session. So I would request now Parul to take over the session, please.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to start off by giving a brief introduction about Professor Nikhil Rastogi. So, Professor Nikhil Rastogi is the area chairperson of Finance and Accounting at IMT Hyderabad. He has a cumulative experience of more than 2 decades. He started his career as a debt analyst, which involved recommendations related to security performance and evaluations. Subsequent to that, he has also worked as an investment analyst in IT-related acquisitions and subsequent mergers. And Dr. Rastogi has been into academics for the past 18 years, and he has completed his PhD in the area of market microstructure. He teaches various courses in the area of security analysis, investment banking, corporate finance, and financial statement analysis. He has also taken many MDPs and workshops in the area of financial modeling using Excel, mergers, and acquisitions, and also using essays for the academicians. His various research articles has also been published in national and international journals, and he has also been a consultant to a fintech startup based out of Hyderabad. So we welcome you, sir, and over to you now.
Thank you, Parul, and thanks, IMS, for this opportunity. Good evening, students. Today's session is just a sneak peek, as the title says, into the world of finance. So broadly, through this session, we are trying to introduce the core of the domain of finance. So as a person who's already in finance, or a person who is yet to move into the world of finance, what I would cover in this session is what are the key features or facets of this domain of finance. What skill set do you require if you want to do well in this domain? And what are the different job profiles that we have in the world of finance? So broadly, if I the following slide is telling us what all we will cover. And towards the end of this session, I would also talk about the common questions the students usually have related to this discipline. Right. So let's start with the most basic part of the domain of finance. So before we go there, let's just understand what finance means, right? So let's say you hear about a person, right? Somebody talks about some person to you. Then you try and form a mental image of that person based on your experiences, right? So let's say somebody reminds you of a friend or an acquaintance, then you classify that person based on your experience. So you could say, oh, this person is either an introvert or an extrovert, or he's someone very dependable, or he's a person who's usually very cheerful, stylish, right? Or empathetic, or usually angry, or usually frowns on people. So as you would classify a person based on your experience, a lot of times we also classify the domain of finance based on how we have been introduced to it. When we came across maybe something on the internet, maybe we read something about it. So when I hear about finance, or when you hear about finance, again, you might think either of this. What could you think? Oh, this is something to do with money, right? Or someone would say, oh, it is about plotting the financial performance of companies, their sales, their profits, something related to that. Someone else could think, oh, finance is about banks, right? Because banks deal with money. So it could be more related to banks. To other, finance could mean just the financial statements and their interpretation. Or finance could mean something related to stock markets or something related to tax, right? So what are we saying? You could have an impression about finance based on how you have first heard or come across that domain. So it could be through various things, through banks, through stock markets, through financial statements, through taxes. But as I said, your experiences are shaped by how you have come across that domain, right? It's something similar to the story of five blind men and elephant, where if somebody catches the tail of the elephant, he thinks the elephant is the rope, or if somebody catches the trunk, he thinks it's a snake, right? So based on your awareness and experiences, you try and classify that domain. But as in this example, as in this slide, you see that it's a whole elephant and the various things you are touching are just various parts. So the question arises, what is the core, right? What is the reality about this discipline of finance? Is it something to do only with stock markets or with banks or with financial statements? Is there some small phrase through which I can understand this domain of finance, right? So as finance is a discipline where you have various roles, right? What are the different roles when you come into the world of finance? You might want to be a banker, right? When you go to a bank, you see a lot of relationship managers. So somebody would be interested in this role. Somebody else might think, oh, I want to get into something called project finance, which is where you are trying to arrange finance for a long-term project, like a highway, like a toll bridge, or a mining project. Or still somebody could think of finance as trying to understand the financial performance of companies, right? So companies employ people who analyze financial statements. The other role in finance could relate to markets. Still other relates to managing mutual funds, right? Or relating to investment banking, which is a very popular role in finance. So now, as you can see on the slide, there are many varied roles when it comes to the world of finance. You could be in different areas and still be in the area of finance. Now, the question is, what is the basic role that you are expected to perform in each of these functions or in each of these roles? So what is the core? What is the core of finance? And in a word or in a phrase, we can say finance is about allocation of capital, right? So in case you are interested to join the world of finance, your work will some way be related to allocation of money or allocation of capital into various businesses, right? Now, all the jobs, all the careers in finance will revolve around this. So when you look at this function of allocation of capital, which are the broad entities in the country who would be responsible for allocation of capital? So if we look at the whole economy, the broad four allocators of capital, and so now the jobs, place where jobs would be, are basically governments, right? Governments are the ones which have huge funds with them, which they want to allocate to various projects. Then it could be companies, right? Companies are also investing funds. So those could be the second category of entities which are doing the function of allocation of capital. The third could be banks and non-banking finance companies, right? And still, the most important category and where most of the jobs in finance revolve are financial markets, right? So, as I said, the domain of finance is revolving around this basic function of allocation of capital, and the careers of finance revolve around these four allocators of capital. So what we'll do now is we'll understand, first going with companies, what are the roles of a finance professional in companies, and then what are the basic skill set required for those roles. After that, we'll move to banks, and then finally to financial markets, right? So when we look at companies, so who makes the decision for allocation of capital in companies? It's usually the board of directors of companies, right? So most of you would be aware that a company is run by its board, but obviously the board will not have the bandwidth to undertake the analysis at a very basic level. So they are assisted by whom? They are assisted by a team of accountants and corporate finance professionals. So now coming to the part of careers in companies, the two major careers that we have as far as a finance professional is concerned are, one, lying in the accounting domain, where they are capturing the transactions, and based on those, they are creating the financial statements. So most of you who would be, let's say, with a BCom background or with a commerce background would be aware of this. And even still others from other backgrounds know that companies come out with financial statements which are being created by a team of accountants. So that becomes one of the profiles as far as companies are concerned. What is the other profile? The other profile, which is popularly called as financial planning and analysis, which is in the corporate finance department. And this profile deals with analysis of these statements which have been created by the accounting department. So when a board is trying to make an investment decision, it is looking at the financial statements and the analysis. So it could be like, what has been the profits of the companies in the past 5 years? Has the company done enough where the board could feel that they should go further on that project, based on which more funds would be allocated? So for our purpose, two of the more basic profiles as far as companies are concerned, one lies in the accounting department, and the other, which is what is more relevant to an MBA student, is what is lying in the corporate finance department. So this profile usually comes as financial planning and analysis, or a business analyst. And who's this person? This person is analyzing the financial statements and creating a report which is being used by the board to make that decision. Now, this accounting and analyst are the two major functions, but then we have also this finance role in auditing firms and consultancy firms, right? So as far as our first allocator of capital, which is company, these are the 2 or 3 major roles for a finance professional, right? Now, okay, these are the roles, but now the important part is, what are the skill sets that one should go for to do well in these roles? Let's say I want to become a business analyst in a company. Let's say there's a company like Dr. Reddy's, Novartis, or let's say HUL, and I want to become a business analyst. What skill set will they look at, right? So basically, the corporates who are coming for this kind of a role would want a candidate to have good knowledge of the financial and management accounting, which deals with interpretation and making of statements. They would also want the candidate to be able to analyze financial statements, right? Which is something which is done in depth in any MBA classroom, where we take financial statements of various entities and we analyze and find out how they have performed. Then these companies would also expect, so see, when you are an MBA graduate, it's not just the analysis which is enough. That analysis also needs to be presented in terms of a report and in terms of your presentation skills. So this is a good skill set which company would desire, and which usually in interviews they will assess using your communication and presentation skills. Then the additional skill that you need to develop to do this role would be understanding of Excel and how do you model financial statements in Excel. So the first role, which is of the role of a corporate finance analyst or a financial planning and analysis role, would require you to be good in these all skill sets, right? So just put in your question and let me know in case you have something related to this in the chat or Q&A. Okay, so let me just proceed. Now, how the second, we have looked at the first, which is companies which are allocating capital. So two important profiles, accounting and analyst. Then how do banks and NBFCs perform this role, right? Every one of us knows that banks are taking in deposits and then they are doing the lending. Banks are lending in two major ways. One, they are lending to the retail borrowers, and they're also lending to companies. So two broad categories. So I'll just pause here, and I have some questions in the chat. Okay, so I have, can you show previous slide? And so let me just go to the previous slide. Okay, and which particular course should be done for finance field? So Risha, when we are talking about the role of business analyst, all the fundamental courses which are done in first years, which are done by everyone, you obviously undergo those courses and get these skill set. But in the electives, you would choose some courses which are mainly related to this part, something like project finance, something like advanced corporate finance. So those would be the courses that you would be doing in the electives, which is the second year, right? Apart from the fundamental courses. So I hope it's answered. And let me just click Q&A. Would you like to elaborate more on analytics and DA for us in MBA? So I would go to that towards the end of the session, right? So Sumedh, I'll just go to that towards the end. Let me just cover this. Okay, so now moving on, we have talked about companies, now banks. Now the banks are lending money to broadly two categories, retail and then companies, corporates. Now, how do banks perform this role? What are the different roles banks have? So the role, which is one of the critical role in bank, is what is called as credit underwriting officer, right? What is this person doing? This person is responsible to analyze the performance of companies which have come for borrowing from the bank, right? So you could call it credit appraisal, or maybe for some of you it could be a new phrase or a different word, but this is a very popular profile as far as banks and non-banking companies are concerned, which is called as credit underwriting, right? You are trying to find out if giving credit to a particular entity is a good decision based on their past financial performance. Then you have one profile which is at rating agencies, right? You would have heard about rating agencies, right? CRISIL, ICRA, CARE, right? So these companies also have requirement for people who would analyze financial statements, financial performance of companies, based on which they would classify their company into AAA, AA, or even default category, right? So that is a popular profile. Then the other profiles are project finance. So usually project finance is for companies which have come for borrowing for longer term, right? Not companies which have come for borrowing for shorter period of time, let's say 1 year or 2 years. Project finance is for 5 years, 8 years kind of term. Then you have industry and domain analyst. You have a category of jobs where you would be expected to understand the sector, the entire sector, or let's say IT or cement, steel, where the companies are coming for taking loans. And then you also have one famous role in banks and NBFCs, which is related to recovery officers, right? So all these are roles or career options which you would have in banks. Again, if you go to the skill set that is required for this, you would have to have a very strong understanding of financial statement analysis, basically with focus on what you call as liquidity and solvency analysis, which in simple word means you want to know whether the company will have the money to pay, right? So a lot of companies, so there's a difference between being profitable and being liquid, right? So obviously some bit of it is technical. So as you come in, you would understand it better in a MBA program. What are the differences? And so, and then what is called as a solvency analysis is, will the company be around to pay back, right? Is the business model of the company making sense? The other skill set would be understanding of industries and sectors, and also knowledge of statistics, right? And this knowledge of statistics is something very, very relevant for those of you who are trying to get into data analytic profile, right? Where you are these days, you are trying to get an understanding of the borrower through their social media profiles, right? Through their profiles, through the other profiles in terms of the buying behavior, right? So here, knowledge of statistics also plays a major role, which is a fundamental course when you come in the first years, and then also an elective in the second year. So that would be a skill set required. And then again, a good understanding of the working of banks. So let me just pause here. I see some question. What kind of roles are offered to freshers after MBA? So yeah, Rishi, I'll just come to that when we finally come to the questions, key questions. As a computer science engineer, which sector shall we go in finance? Yeah, I'll just take those questions as I come to the end. So I have those in the repository. Is CFA certification good to have, and how many level should I complete before? So Ashita, CFA certification, if you are aware, has 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. It's for the benefit of everyone listening to me. So level 1 usually would be based on your first year courses, right? Level 2 would be based on your second year courses, and level 3 is a bit different from that. So when you're joining a B school, it is better if you can also register for CFA, because as you prepare for your first year examinations, you can correspondingly write your first year CFA level 1. So you can do both of them together, right? So with the same effort, you're trying to clear 2 things. Then again, as you get into level 2 and you're in your second year of MBA, most of the courses have a common syllabus. So with the same effort, you can clear both. So it's not required that you complete a level and come. You can do it when you come to the B school. You can start your CFA when you come, right? Okay, so let me just move on. So 2 things we have discussed: some role related to the companies, then role related to the banks and NBFCs, right? Okay. Let me just move. So how do they perform this? So the third category that we want to discuss are financial markets, right? And if you recollect, I said majority of the roles that are created in the area of finance are in the area of financial markets, and they are into various categories, right? So financial markets are bringing the investors and borrowers at the same place. And how are they doing that? You have a regulator. Those of you are aware, there is a financial market regulator in various segments. you have stock exchanges, and you have investment bankers. So these three entities are playing a major role in the running of financial markets itself, right? And as these entities are playing a major role, most of the jobs in finance that are coming in these entities. So as far as the roles are concerned in the area of financial markets, the popular roles are being brought by stockbroking companies as a sell side analyst, where you are creating research reports on the investment in companies, or in the area of wealth management, where you are trying to manage the wealth of high net worth individuals based on their risk profile, or you are a buy side analyst for mutual funds and insurance companies which have huge fund pool to manage, and thereby they would want people with expertise in analyzing a sector or a company. Okay, and what are the skill set required to perform this role? Again, as you would see, the core of finance would be, you should be comfortable with financial statement and financial statement analysis. But over and above that, what is required in this role would be understanding of financial markets, for which you would do papers, especially in your second year of MBA, with a brief introduction being provided in the first year. And the elective courses that you do in the second year would take care of the part related to understanding of financial instruments, expertise in business valuation. So this role is one of the major roles as far as a finance MBA is concerned. So all your profiles would also require you to get an expertise in trying to value business, not just in terms of trading, but in terms of long-term investment. Okay, and again, the major part would come into the M&A modeling, where companies buy and sell. So you would try to get expertise into the area of mergers and acquisitions. So this is what majorly would be required of you if you want to come into this role of financial markets, right? Be it as an investment banker, be it in a regulatory team, or be it in a compliance team, right? So that is what are the major areas as far as a core finance professional is concerned, right? Now, I would also take up now some frequently asked questions by a student in this domain. After this, I will look at your individual Q&A, and if we have already covered, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll talk a bit more about it. So usually for freshers, this is the general questions that are asked are that I have no background in commerce. So will I be able to do finance? And is finance only something to do with accounting, or there's something else, right? So to answer, and we'll answer slide by slide. So these are the questions that I have put on the slide, right? Is finance right for me? Is finance just being in the office all the time and do a desk job? What kind of skill set are required? So let's look at the first question. Non-commerce student, will I be able to do finance, right? So if I look at the trend or at the history of students who have come for finance, a large set are non-commerce students, right? So why are we saying that they are non-commerce? Because the field or the domain or the careers that are in finance are in the field of investments, right? A bit in accounting, but most of them are in the field of investment. So as opposed to a person who is into, let's say, who has done a CA, who is more focused on the auditing and the accounting part, MBA finance is focusing more on the investment side. So he is not a person, or she is not a person to be able to create financial statements, but they are more people who are able to analyze financial statements, right? So yes, a large majority of the students are from non-commerce backgrounds, and a lot of times they have been the toppers as far as the academic performance is concerned, right? Because the basic grounding in accounting is being provided in the fundamental courses, but majority is the related part related to the analysis of those statements. Okay, is finance more to do with accounting? So as I clarified, accounting is a fundamental part, right? But we won't require you to prepare statements. That's what is not what is expected. What is expected is your ability to analyze those statements, right? Be it in companies, be it in the area of financial markets, or be it at banks or non-banking finance companies, right? Okay. So let's just take the next question. Is finance largely going to be a desk job? So some roles in finance are basically sitting in office, right? But then there are roles which, like in the field of wealth management or banking, where you are going out and meeting clients. So it's a mix of both being in office and meeting clients when it comes to the roles related to wealth management and advisory. But a large number of jobs are also relating to desk jobs, which are jobs where in the related field of investment banking, mergers and acquisitions and all. Okay. What are the career options after specialization in finance? So these are the possible career options which we have covered. Then analytics and IT in the IT companies also, there's a major requirement as a domain specialist. So to give you an example, companies like Infosys or Cognizant or Wipro or TCS would all have clients in the BFSI space, right? What is BFSI? Banking, finance, insurance, right? So these clients would need certain products which need to be developed by the company. But the company's programmers do not have any expertise in the domain. So there is a category of jobs called as business analyst or consultants who would be a bridge between the client who's from the world of finance and a programmer who does not understand finance, right? So a lot of jobs are also in this category of domain specialist. And then analytics or financial analytics has become a major source of late, where your understanding of finance and a good understanding of statistics is enabling you to do the job in the world of especially fintech, right? So those are the possible options as far as the new age careers are concerned. Okay. Is finance right for me? Yeah, that's the fundamental question you need to answer before you get in this. So it is, but you need to be prepared with the mindset of number crunching, right? So most of these jobs that are in the world of finance would involve you working with numbers, but also it would require you to have a liking for analyzing businesses, right? It's not this that you do it as a job, but that generally you want to be in the world of business. You understand business models and how the business works. So if those are the area of interest, then this is the way forward for you. So what kind of skill set is required? So just briefly covering it. So this is what are the fundamental requirements if you want to excel in the area of finance. And you can also add now to this the field of analytics or financial analytics, which is basically statistics and financial modeling. Okay, so to summarize the entire discussion, what are the various parts related to finance? That's what we covered. As you go through the slide, those are the things we covered. And after that, we covered what are the skill set that you require, right? So this is what you require in terms of the skill set.
So, sir, let me thank you for such an insightful sessions and answering so much questions.
Yeah,
So
there are plenty of questions.
yeah. So thank you so much, sir. I look forward for such more insightful sessions in future.
Sure,
So
sure.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, students.